We're now joining Todd Berry, the head coach of ULM. If you have a question for Coach Berry, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Coach, while waiting for questions to get in the queue, would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Sure. Really good win for us at Wake Forest. To go on the road, play in that type of environment, and come out with a win is a good thing. Didn't play exceptionally well, so I'm disappointed in that, and I think we can play better than what we're playing right now. It has been nice to get the quarterback back to where we can kind of run our offense, and he didn't play up to his capabilities, but he still put up some great numbers, and anxious to see his continued development.
Thank you very much. Our first questions come from Brett Vito with the Denton Record Chronicle. Please go ahead, Brett.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm fine, Brett.
Hey, just had a quick question for you. I'm working on a story about the anatomy of an upsetter, how you get there as far as the team goes, because North Texas goes to Georgia this week. You've had a couple of those types of games where you've gone against major conference opponents and come out ahead. What are the keys to getting to that point?
Oh, wow. I think it's a cultural thing in relation to, can you get your players to actually believe it can happen? I think that many times when you're a huge underdog, while everybody wants to pound their chest and act like that they believe what's going on, the reality of it is you got to get them to where they truly believe that they'll find a way to win. I think that, in our situation, Colton has always provided, as I've mentioned before, some hope in the sense that everybody knows that they just kind of keep playing hard, he's going to find a way to make a play. And I think that obviously leads to belief, and if you've got belief, then belief leads to opportunities to win a game. But I think it's, again, I think it's kind of a cultural thing in relation to whether you think that, hey, if your players actually truly believe that they can find a way to win.
Do you need that one bell cow player? Do you think they can really kind of maybe even things out a little bit, a guy that can make some plays?
I think I think so. I think it generally emanates anymore in college football with your quarterback. Because he's the one that's going to be able to touch the ball, distribute the ball, make plays on his own. And I think that's why you look around most of the time at college football nowadays, and if you've got a great quarterback and a great defense, you're going to win a lot of games. And the time period of the great tailback dominating college football has kind of changed because the structure of defenses has changed, and thus the structure of offenses has changed. So. But yeah, I think if you've got that one guy that everybody can kind of pin their hopes on, regardless of whether last year we were down to Arkansas 21 points, Western Kentucky 21 points. We came back and won both those games. And a lot of that was a realization that at any point in time we could get in to just let the quarterback start working his stuff, and that you were still in a game. And so I think some of it has a little bit to do with the structure of your systems in place.
Is it good to catch him? Good to catch a team just at an odd time? Like maybe they're between big conference games, or there's another set of circumstances that maybe you just catch a team at the right time?
Well, I think it helps if a team maybe is overlooking you a little bit. There's no question about that. But I think sometimes that's really hard to gauge because I think a lot just kind of depends on how well they played in the last game. And for instance, we didn't play great in this last ball game. And so, while our players enjoy wins, the reality of it is they probably didn't enjoy this one as much as they have some others, just because we didn't play very well. We're capable of playing a lot better than what we played, and so that feeling that they got, kind of going into this week, is probably a little bit different. And so again, I think I think it's hard to gauge because I think a lot just kind of depends on how they played the week before and kind of what the emphasis is on maybe a game after.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
You bet, Brett.
Thank you, Brett. And our next questions come from Dusty Thibodeau with WarhawkReport.com. Please go ahead, Dusty.
Morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm fine, Dusty. Thanks.
Well, Coach, how was the injury situation? I know that Josh Allen had to leave a couple times, and then, late in the game, Jarvis Edwards was pulled. What's the injury situation as you get ready for Baylor this week?
We're good. We should get Cordero Smith back. I have all expectations that we're going to get Centarius cleared this week. So we don't have any injuries to report.
How difficult is it this week to maybe kind of get the team up for this game, knowing that they're going in again as the underdogs and all that? Or do you feel that last week really kind of showed this team a little bit further that they can compete?
Well, I'd like to think that last year gives us an opportunity to believe that we can stay on the field with Baylor. Now, Baylor's an outstanding team. They've improved on defense, or maybe even more dynamic on offense. And so we know that we've got our hands full to some degree, and obviously we're playing in at their place. And but you know, the nice thing probably for us, quite honestly, is that you know, we took an ACC opponent and won, and maybe didn't play very well. And from a program standpoint, that's probably making some kind of statement to our players in relation to we won ugly, and you know, that's hard to do. I mean, that's hard to do is to win, and when you don't play necessarily your best football. So you know, we're know that we're going to have a great effort this week, and that's kind of what I expect out of our players, and I think our players expect that of each other, and we'll just try to go in and play as best we can, and if we do that, then that's all I can ask of them.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach.
You bet, Dusty.
Thank you, Dusty. Our next questions come from David Jackson with the App State IMG Sports Network. Please go ahead, David.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
I'm fine, David. Thanks.
Rashawn Caesar, how has he worked to improve himself as a target in the passing game this year?
Well, I think it kind of started last year. He started gaining some chemistry with Colton last year when we had the injury to Kobe Harper. And Rashawn filled in really nicely. And I think Rashawn's got tremendous work ethic. He's a very, very good athlete, very cerebral young man. I mean, he gets it. And as time has gone on, Colton is finding him more and more. And a lot of it's because of Tavares May and Jerron Ham on the edges that have maybe got a little bit more acclaim, that we're finding people that pay more attention to Jerron and Tavares, and so that's opened things up for Rashawn. But he's taking advantage of those, and now, you know, we feel like that, you know, we've got three pretty legitimate receivers that, you know, can make an impact in a game, and I think, you know, Colton's feeling comfortable with all three now.
And just a follow-up question here: what are going to be some of the challenges of defending Baylor?
Wow, their speed, their scheme, their tempo. I mean, Art does a wonderful job with that program. I've said it multiple times, and they've got tremendous athleticism. And I'm talking about all the way across the board, not just a receiver, but the running back, the quarterback, their offensive line. They've always had some draft picks in the offensive line. They do a really good job with developing their players. And schematically, they put a lot of pressure on you because you've got to guard the athletes down the field, and yet if you're laying everybody back, they're going to run the football or throw the bubble screens, and they'll chip their way down the field. And then they have this tempo to where, you know, it creates problems in terms of even being able to change up the scheme. And so consequently, if they get you locked into something, they're going to start kind of wearing you out. So they challenge you in all areas, and that's, you know, that's what, you know, good coaches do, is they know what their talent level is, and they use their talent the best that they can, and they've got tremendous talent and a tremendous scheme to go along with it, and so it's a lot of pressure.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Thank you, David. And we have one more set of questions from Waco, Texas. Caller, please identify yourself and go ahead.
Hi, Coach. This is Jerry Hill with the Baylor Bear Insider. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Jerry. Thanks.
You mentioned that Baylor's defense had improved since you saw them last year. Where do you feel like, or just from film or whatever, is it personnel, is it scheme, where do you see them getting better on defense?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that schematically they put a few more things in there that you got to think about. But I think personnel-wise they seem to be real comfortable in what they're doing. And, you know, they're playing hard. They've always played hard. But that obviously is a fundamental thing to playing good defense, is you got to be prepared to run to the football and throw your hats around, and they're doing that. And I think this is, you know, a much better Baylor football team than what we saw last year.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Thank you, and thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have for you today. We do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks.